Madame Papagioti from the Women's Major Group, and yes, react to what you heard and trying to deliver the remarks that you would like to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And dear delegates and distinguished guests, thank you for the invitation to be here with you today. I think I have already heard many of the points that I was also going to raise in my presentation, so probably I will go a little bit broader. My name is Foteini Papagioti. I'm the Deputy Director of Policy and Advocacy for the International Center for Research on Women. And I also represent the Women's Major Group, one of the original 9 major groups that were mandated to monitor sustainable development processes at the Rio Conference back in 1992 and facilitate feminist engagement with these processes. We have been actively involved in the adoption of gender equality as both a standalone SDG with dedicated metrics and targets, and also as a cross-cutting objective that is critical to the achievement of the other 16 goals and sustainable development more broadly. Since then, we continue to reaffirm the mutually reinforcing relationship between achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls, and the full, effective, and accelerated implementation of Agenda 2030. We believe that the promotion, the protection, the respect for the human rights and fundamental freedoms of all women and girls, including the right to development, are universal, indivisible, interdependent, and interrelated, and crucial then for their full and equal participation in all spheres of society. We thus call on member states to develop cohesive, sustainable development strategies to achieve gender equality and the full realization of women's civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights, and to also recognize the vital role of women and girls in all their diversity as agents of change for sustainable development. We know, and we've heard already, that women and girls face multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination and marginalization, deprivation, and that this is compounded by other dimensions of inequality: their race, their age, their language, religion, political or other opinions, class, disability, other statuses. And we do know that there are pervasive gender stereotypes and negative social norms that then get translated into discriminatory laws and processes and policies, and underpinned by unequal power relations and the distribution of resources, including the unpaid care and domestic work, that all combine to intensify this marginalization and discrimination. And then we have all of the impact of ongoing economic, financial, health, climate crises, conflicts that are derailing sustainable development across the world. And we see women and girls disproportionately affected by hunger, food insecurity, and poverty, the adverse impacts of climate change and environmental degradation, the effects of armed conflict and post-conflict situations. So we do believe that to ensure this non-discrimination and equality of opportunity in all fields and rights, we particularly call attention to paying specific attention to the importance of promoting the rights, participation, and inclusion of women and girls with disabilities, Indigenous women and girls of African descent, migrant women and girls, and of course, older women. So what does that mean in actually implementing, what commitments, what obligations are there? We do have a framework of existing commitments and obligations for the full and equal enjoyment of the human rights and fundamental freedoms of women and girls. So we do encourage member states to focus on achieving those existing obligations and commitments and linking them to ongoing processes, such as the discussion we are having around the right to development. What that can mean in practice is, for example, providing predictable, timely, effective and comprehensive solutions to sovereign debt burdens, for example, that can promote economic growth and sustainable development in developing countries, and that will then create the fiscal space to address challenges that are specific to women and girls. We also call for mobilizing resources equitably and then targeting investments and policies toward achieving gender equality, and the care economy can be a big part of those investments. But that also includes the establishment of robust social protection systems, the improvement of public services and sustainable infrastructure, and also touching upon the issue of AI and technology that was included in the guiding questions, ensuring that no one is left behind in the digital economy, and also addressing gender-related biases in technology and emerging AI technologies. Of course, enacting or enforcing laws and policies to eliminate all forms of violence, discrimination, and harassment against women, and ensuring that women and girls enjoy equal representation in leadership and decision-making, both in public and private life, and that includes armed and post-conflict situations and humanitarian emergencies, and of course ensuring that all development strategies are gender responsive and fully respect human rights. With regards to the care economy, I think we heard a lot of valuable data and information, so I'm not going to go into too much detail into that. We have evidence that shows the impact on the full enjoyment of the rights of women and girls from the unpaid care and domestic work that women and girls tend to take on, their impact on their access to education and training, economic and entrepreneurial activities, their ability to participate in decision-making processes and occupy leadership positions. And despite all that, unpaid care work remains an unrecognized economic and social contribution, although it has been estimated to amount to $11 trillion in global GDP. And especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen how fragile and inadequate our global care infrastructure is, and it is not fit to meet the increased demand we see for child, elder, health, and disability care services. We see care worker shortages, decent work deficits, low remuneration, poor working conditions, and that is despite the fact that we have projected that by 2030, we will need 475 million more formal jobs in the care economy to meet global care demands. So the discrepancy between needs and how we are responding to those needs is becoming very evident. And we do believe that it is collective action and commitment that prioritizes sustainable infrastructure, social protection, and accessible, affordable, and quality social services. They're critical for developing those equitable, resilient, and inclusive care systems that we need to not sideline the role of women and girls in the provision of care, but to alleviate those rising demands on women and girls. So we do see member states as the primary duty bearers for the promotion of human rights and sustainable development, but we do believe that we need a whole of society approach. Civil society, the United Nations system, the private sector, we all need to contribute to a system that recognizes, reduces, and redistributes the disproportionate share of unpaid care and domestic work that women and girls perform, and then also reward and represent paid care work through the promotion of decent work for care workers and guaranteeing their representation and social dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Papagioti, because you went a little bit more deeply with granularity approach of this question of different groups of women, because it's not only women as such, but it's also, there are oldest, there are also the question of women with disabilities, etc. So we went a little bit deeply in the issue, and to end this first round.